Welcome to Green Human Resource Management Studio with Peiseniece. I am here to talk with Professor Wolfgang Mayrhofer, and it's great to be here in Vienna University of Economics and Business and to talk about green human resource management. Dear Professor, thank you so much for accepting my invitation to talk with you. You are very, very experienced in research in human resource management, and today we will talk about green human resource management, the management which is focused on supporting sustainability in the company. And when we start our conversation, I would like to ask about your research interests, about your academic background, and what is the most interesting for you in HR?
Well, I always was interested in HRM, in how HRM develops over time and in different contexts, meaning cultures, countries, because some people assume good HRM is a universal thing. So what works in one context also works in another context. I've spent many years of my academic life in contributing to making a question mark behind that and very clearly showing through much of my and our research with the colleagues that work in a similar way to say we have to be a little bit more careful with so-called best practices, one-size-fits-all solutions across different countries, cultures, organizational sizes, sectors. So in a way, that has been my academic interest in the area of HRM.
About 15 years ago, we have met in scientific network, in CRANET network. Could you tell about CRANET network, what it is and why it is so important for HRM?
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting network. It started in the late 1980s, early 1990s, where a group of like-minded scholars came together, actually triggered by interest from corporate practice with exactly the question, do we know enough how HRM is done in different countries? And initially it was a small initiative of 7 or 8 countries. And we are now, as we have currently the CRANET meeting here at our university, it's a 50-plus country initiative over the past 35 years or so, we have accumulated a lot of knowledge about, we can say a few things that are similar in various countries, but we also see that this is very different, and this is very largely due to CRANET and its work. In a way, CRANET has written history in that respect. So is this a collaborative network where people working together? It's the largest academic network on HRM in the world. So it's quite a remarkable endeavor.
Yes, I completely agree. And for our university, it's also a big honor to be in this network and to see also how this practice is in different regions, and also to compare and to see how it's possible to develop also HRM. And one of the directions for development is sustainability in HRM and also green HRM. And my interest is in green HRM. Could you tell about your opinion? How do you see? Is it also become common in companies, or is it important for the companies?
That's a very interesting question, because clearly green HRM in its basic sense touches a nerve in a way, right? Because if you look at organizations, companies, non-profit organizations, public organizations, they all face one way or other an increasing pressure of reducing the carbon footprint, of becoming more sustainable in the ecological sense, etc. And of course, the question comes up: well, what's the role of HRM in this? Is there any role of HRM? Could HRM contribute, or do they actually counter these things with the ways the HRM in practice does that at the moment? So the question inevitably comes to HRM to say, is there something like green HRM? Now, having said that, I'm always a little bit initially a skeptic. I'm a skeptic, as academics usually are.
We must be.
Exactly.
We must be also
exactly.
skeptic.
Exactly. So I'm a kind of academic skeptic by training and by profession, and I'm also a skeptic when it comes to adjective concepts. You see, like boundaryless career or green HRM, or so, because I always say, what does that mean for HRM as such and for the endeavor? Is it helpful because it focuses on certain important things like being green, being environmental friendly? Yeah, I can see the point fully, and I support that. Or does it kind of reduce the focus too much and saying green is the most important thing in HRM? I see, and I say, well, there I start wondering. You see, because I say in the end, I mean, for me at least, the most simple formula for HRM is provide people with enough competencies in enough numbers at the right time at the right place. Full stop. That's it. In the end, I mean, there's much more to it, as we both know. But and then I say, does HRM, does green kind of contribute to that, and to what extent? Well, not really sure. But then, of course, if you look closer, and I guess we'll come in the conversation to that, to say, well, there are a number of consequences if you do this basic stuff linked with HRM that has aspects of sustainability, of being green. So I think green is something of an entry ticket, of a kind of subtle, us pointing towards a direction, but shouldn't be the overall, and can't be, from my point of view, the ultimate goal.
Yeah, you know that this topic is so interesting because when I have talked with the companies and I asked them about HR activities supporting sustainability, several companies, they could mention so many activities, what they are really doing. And then I asked, do you realize green human resource management? And they said, what? Green human resource management? And what is interesting that in reality, we see this green HR exist, but we don't talk about that. And your colleagues also, they made great research about the sustainability reports. They asked 300 companies from 6 countries, do they realize green HRM? And they said, no, but when the questionnaire was about activities, then it was also easy to understand, but they are really doing that. And I consider that it's very important also to name, to say also that yes, the companies realize green HRM, and of course this is a pressure. This is also the pressure from the outside, because in many companies they exist business goals and they have also sustainability goals. And then it means that if HR need to support sustainability goals, then they need also to realize also green HRM. This is my view on that. But how do you see that this topic is enough made research in our research? Researchers also have do research in this field enough or not so much? How do you think?
As we both know, there is never enough research. There is always research to be done, and that's of course also true for green HRM. But what I can see is a very positive and constructive development over the past years, or maybe 1.5 decades or something like that. Given the enormous societal importance that the whole topic of sustainability and becoming ecologically friendly has for the society as a whole, for the organizations, and for the economy. And I see many of the younger scholars building this angle into their work. But as you pointed out, what happens in practice partially also happens in academia. For a number of reasons, sometimes the label Green HRM is not put on certain work, whereas what one actually does can, by all means, be attributed to contributing to this debate. And as some people very clearly are aware of, some people shy away, for instance, me included, of getting a label attached to say, oh, this is a Green HRM scholar, or this is a, I don't know what, a scholar, which is maybe too narrow for what one is doing. Whereas if one says, okay, I include thoughts, concepts, ideas, goals that are linked with Green HRM into my work, I would probably say, yeah, why not? It's important. So in that respect, I said, yeah, never enough research, but I think we're on a good way of including that into the work of the overall HRM discourse, and that's for me the important part.
But you know that I am also thinking before I worked as a HR manager in the organization, then I needed to realize different strategies, but now I am thinking also if I need to realize sustainable HRM, this is quite a difficult task because to balance business goals, social goals, environmental goals, this is not so easy task, and of course I think that this become more and more common, and also in the companies, and we as researchers we also need to do research in this aspect, and I am happy because in Cranet survey we see the new topic or new question, maybe not the topic, but the new question is also will be about sustainability HRM, and it means that also we will see the global picture, not only in one country, but how this topic is important in different countries, and I think it's also really great. But what do you think about podcasting in science?
I'm a big podcast fan, I have to say. So I was delighted to receive your invitation because I think podcast is a very, very nice way of transferring what you do in academia to broader circles. And I personally also listen to a number of podcasts, both scientific and societal and other things, because it forces those who are participating in the podcast to come down to the essentials. It's very clear it's not an academic environment so where you kind of have the exact fine figures and the explained I swear or something like that, but you say, okay, it's a conversation and what are the essentials? What have you been learning? So I'm a big fan of podcasts.
I'm so happy because you know that I also, when I decided to create this podcast, I understood that of course, we develop our publications, we publish them in high-level journals, but this is for us, this is for scientists, it is not for practitioners, it is not for society. And such conversations also to help to deliver what we have founded in our research, and also to educate, and also to share also our opinions. And not always we agree to each other sure. Yeah, and it's also interesting to know. And how do you think, what is necessary also for promotion this green HRM in podcasts? Which aspects are necessary to mention more? Because in my case, I have had conversations with sustainability managers, with HR managers, with HR scientists.
From my own experience as a listener of podcasts, but also from the experience of how do you transfer academic insight into the broader world, society, practitioners. I think there are a few lessons to learn also for podcasts. First is has to be an interesting story of one way or other. You see, an interesting story where people say, oh, that's neat. I wouldn't have thought about that organizations do this or that. And from my point of view, it could be both in a success example, but also a kind of spectacular failure, you see, where I said, yeah, that's what we tried, it didn't work at all, or didn't have no effect, or even the counter effect, so that people start scratching their heads and, why is that? And then if one comes up with an explanation. So kind of having a good story, I think that's, I mean, every journalist knows that, but having the story with green HRM. I think the second thing, I mean, since we live in the business world, I think it has to be very clearly demonstrated in terms of green HRM. What are the effects on the balance sheet, the kind of economic effects, what does it contribute to organizational strategy, to performance, to outcome at the organizational level on the one hand, but also what are the effects for the employees, for the people, whether you call it well-being, satisfaction, different story. So these are two things, because listeners are either the managers or, like many of us, people working in organizations, and they say, well, here is this strange beast of green HRM. What does that beast do to the organization, organizational outcomes, but also to the individual outcomes, etc.? And so that would be a second thing. And the third thing, which is probably the most difficult, is to say, what are broader societal effects beyond contributing to organizational goals and outcomes, and to individual goals and outcomes. So do we see any link? Because people are also interested, especially in these days, what effects do we see for the broader society? And if a podcast can point that out with an interesting story, effects for organizations and the individual, and for broader society, I would say, wow, that's a nice one. That's a nice one.
Yeah, thank you so much. These are so great ideas for my next podcast, when I will talk with also practitioners or academics. And I would like to say that story about this T-shirt. Because when I decided to do research in green human resource management, then I found that we talk in different languages. HR practitioners, they asked, what does it mean? And I understood that it's not possible to do research about something which is not understandable by practitioners. Then I decided to make the podcast first in Latvian. After that, I decided to make in English, because this topic is important not only for Latvians, but also for people from different countries. And this T-shirt made me brave, because this T-shirt with a cat from the animation movie. This is animation movie made by a Latvian team, very young team, who made the animation film Flow. And this movie has won, I think, more than 55 prizes in different contests. And the biggest achievement is the Oscar Prize.
Oh, wow.
In 2025.
Congratulations.
This was a competition with Pixar and also Walt Disney. And it makes me brave to talk about with society, not only in Latvian, but also in different other countries to talk about something which is new, which is maybe not so understandable with the people who are also interested. And thanks for the people who are brave, who give also impressions, who give also motivation to do something. And I would like also to say thank you so much to you that you also agreed to talk with me and to give your thoughts about this topic. And I consider that this is just the beginning because I know that in Vienna University you have also colleagues who are interested in green human resource management, and I hope I meet them also, and we will talk also about different aspects. But thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I was glad to be here.